So hello everyone, this is Aditya Gupta and I'll be presenting today my ELL101 project, which is a panic alarm using a NPN transistor BC547 and 555 timer IC. So let's move on to the introduction. A panic alarm is a device which is used to alert somebody in an emergency situation of where there exists a threat to a person or the property. Even in medical emergency, these can be used by pressing the panic button. So in this one in which we are going to study in this particular project, it is made up of NPN transistor and a 555 IC. So let's move on. 555 IC has actually a flip-flop system which would be very useful for our push buttons. So moving on. The components are buzzer, since as we press the push button, then the buzzer and the light should light up since we have to alert the people. Then the push buttons, of course, the resistors, there will be 4 resistors required. A capacitor and a battery will be used, then a breadboard obviously for creating the circuit, then the connecting wires. Since a circuit will be created, thus the connecting wires will obviously be required. Moving on, the other components which are used are the NPN transistor BC547. BC547 is one of the most widely used transistor and can be used for many purposes. 555 timer IC is used in a variety of timer, delay, pulse generation, and an oscillator application, and consists of 8 pins. It also has a flip-flop arrangement inside, due to which it is mainly used in timer, delay, and pulse generation, because they would have just one instant, so it will flip the output. So it would be very useful. Moving on, let's come to the circuit of the panic alarm button. So in the circuit, these has two main components. Number one is the set one, and the number two is the reset button. So when we press the set button, remember these are push buttons, so we just press them for an instant. So as we push the set button, it initially the R1 and R2 would have caused the number two, pin 2 and pin 4 to be at a high, and when we press the set button, the pin 2 moves to a low, and due to which the 3 moves to a high, because it's a flip-flop arrangement, remember? So yeah, so 3 moves to a high. It's just an instant, however it will cause any change, any instantaneous change in 2 and 4 will cause a permanent change in 3 until the next trigger. So initially when we press the set, it will cause the 2 to go low and 3 to go high, due to which the buzzer will be activated and the LED will also be activated. And similarly, when we press the reset, it will cause the number 4 to go low, and thus 3, since it was initially an high, will now go low, and this will again turn off the circuit. And here is the transistor BC547 which we are using. So basically the role of the transistor is to play as a switch in between, and thus it cuts off the circuit when the signal is not high, and thus it restricts the signal. Only when it's high, the signal will run and the LED and buzzer will be activated. So moving on. Yeah, it's exactly the same which I have written, just in the technical aspects. Since the pin 2 and the reset are pulled up initially, as I said, then the set button is pressed and you can read on. So yeah, you can pause the video and read any of these slides in which I have mentioned any content. Okay, so moving on. Yeah. So now let's come to the function. Panic alarm is basically used to send emergency signal immediately to the people in a nearby location, or either to call for help or alert them. The reason behind a panic situation can be anything. It's not specific to a few categories, like if however, to mention a few ways in which these it might be useful. Number one, if a person has been cornered by some dangerous person, then it can be used to alert our people, like the people we know. The number two, the when the banks are being robbed, medical emergency of a patient, any of these circumstances can be considered in a panic situation, and thus these panic alarms can be used. Moving on. So thank you everyone. This presentation has been presented by Aditya Gupta, 2021CS10554, and thanks for listening.